Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'd like to talk about something I think is a bit concerning, which is, I'm probably not going to be saying this right, but if you stick around this channel, you realise pretty quickly, I have about a 50% success rate of the words that come out of my mouth. Happened just then, I stumbled over what I was going to say. So I can't pronounce many things properly. The D'Amelios, Charli and her sister, is Dixie? So a video was put up on the D'Amelio family channel, which has about 1.2 million subscribers. Our first mystery guest, dinner with the D'Amelios. And it's had 14 million views, 157,000 dislikes, 360,000 likes, 130,000 comments. I didn't see that before. And there's been quite a bit of backlash with the video. I watched it earlier. No, I watched it a few days ago when all this happens. Time doesn't exist around here. So earlier could mean today or it could mean 10 years ago. I watched it a few days ago. Before we really get into it, I just want to throw this one out there. I don't quite understand why there is a... I'm just going to say D'Amelio. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't quite understand why there is a family channel. To me, I mean, the dad seemed kind of engaged. This is constructive criticism, by the way, but I don't think the mum seemed that interested.
I mean, I don't either. Yes, most likely to be famous.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
I got most beautiful.
Did you?
No, wait. I think that was at prom. No, I got most beautiful.
I don't know. I got really weird vibes from the parents. I always find it a bit odd when... Not odd. I do understand it. It's opportunism, right? It's being opportunistic. A immediate family member or two get really famous and you're trying to cash in on that. I get it. It's kind of natural, but there's like cashing in and getting in on the cash cow. Is that the right word? There's getting in on it, but then maybe you're really charismatic yourself, so it's like, okay, fair enough, that's cool. But then I just don't get the feeling that they really wanted to be there that much or really wanted to do it. So that's always odd to me because it's like, yeah, you're getting money, but is that the most important thing? Kind of like, you know, Alfie Days and Zoella are really, well, they were really famous. They still are, I guess. Joe Sugg then did YouTube, follows in his sister's footsteps, bigger star than her now, and he's really charismatic, cool. Alfie has a sister called Poppy, and she had this, I went on it years ago, she had this website because she's in his vlogs, and her boyfriend, or fiance, maybe boyfriend, her boyfriend now does YouTube because of Alfie. This bloody blog she had, it was like, oh, here's a really nice recipe for cocktails, and it was the simplest thing, and it's like, you're literally just doing this because your brother's famous. You can know you can make a coin out of it, and you're probably a nice person, but just being on camera isn't for everyone because there's a certain charisma that one should carry to engage an audience, you know? Does that make any sense? This has gone so far off topic already, and I'm mad about this topic, so I should get mad, but instead I'm rambling. So a lot of the criticism, well, no, all the criticism was levied at Charli and Dixie. Charli is 16, Dixie is 19. Because they were acting spoiled, entitled, they're teenagers. I'm going to say it right now. I don't give a fuck. I do not care if a 16-year-old starts acting a little bit entitled. It doesn't change my life in the slightest. It shouldn't change your life in the slightest. I mean, considering they both live in LA, which has this outsider's opinion here, I think LA has this whole culture of yes man bigging each other up for not a whole lot really. Charli is the most followed TikToker on the planet. She has 100 million people following her at the age of 16. And she said in the video, wouldn't it have been cool if I'd got to 100 million within the year? And James was like, oh, the 95 million, you know, were they not enough, as a little bit of a joke? And people took this to meaning she's only seeing it as numbers.
It hasn't even been a year since I hit 1 million.
No.
And she introduced Dixie.
That's a joke.
If we're thinking about it, okay, how far away is that's Friday? Okay. Ugh, I wish I had like more time. Cause imagine if I hit 100 mil a year after hitting 1 mil.
Was the 95 not enough for you?
Well, I was just like saying like even numbers.
Well,
I mean, you can't really conceptualize 100 million people anyway, so like part of you maybe would, but it doesn't mean... Oh, God. I think it's projection. I'm not going to pretend I knew her intentions when she said that. It kind of doesn't fucking matter. She's 16. It would be a miracle if both of them grow up to be not even the slightest bit entitled or spoiled. Because imagine having that many people follow you for... I'm not shading them for this. They have fun and do dances and lip sync on TikTok, and that's kind of how they got big, right? And I've seen them both in some of James Charles's videos, and Charli seems very nice. I think she seems quite shy, quite quiet, a bit reserved, but she seems really nice and sweet. So if you have 100 million people following you because you do some dancing, some lip syncing, and you're nice and sweet, I'll be amazed if their heads don't get a little bit big from that. I would have been awful at 16. If I'd had like 10,000 followers at 16, I probably would have gotten a little bit bratty. They're teenagers. Let children be children. This whole thing is a mess. There was some other stuff about Dixie throws up whilst eating a snail.
Expanding and like doing more. And like, why now do you want to get more involved with the business type stuff? Because I remember when I first met you, I was, you need to be looking at this, you need to be understanding deal terms, because a lot of people don't, but unfortunately that's how a lot of influencers...
What is this?
Oh my god.
It's a mushroom.
No, it's not. That's a snail.
Oh my god.
It is a snail.
Oh!
It's a snail. It's the kind of cool. It's classic in paella, and
So dramatic.
it's very classic to put in paella.
Yummy.
See? Delicious.
It sometimes happens when... Oh god.
So dramatic.
Don't be so dramatic.
Excuse yourself.
Is she being real?
So the chef cooked food for them. They had a personal chef who in the beginning is introduced as a friend of the father's, a family friend.
So everybody on YouTube, this is not only the chef of the night, but our good friend Aaron May, who is my favorite chef. And thank you so much for doing this for us.
So people were saying, oh, she was being really bratty and entitled because she didn't like snails, which is an acquired taste anyway. Well, no, not tried them. I'm vegan. It's an acquired taste anyway, and you know she was being a bit bratty, and like, so what? I'm fed up of seeing people say, "Well, age isn't an excuse." Stop putting impossibly high standards on children. Maybe age isn't an excuse, but it's certainly an explanation for some people's behaviours sometimes. So since all of this kicked off, Charli lost about 1 million followers on TikTok. She's since gained them back and has reached 100 million. But 1 million people decided to knee-jerk and unfollow someone because they maybe could be perceived a little bit as a bit entitled. A child, a 16-year-old. Now, I know it can be argued that the people doing that were probably kids themselves, in which case, fine. But at the same time, children, if it was 1 million children, I mean, if it was like even 5,000 30-year-olds, I'd be like, what the fuck are you playing at? You know, is this like, you're not the demographic audience anyway. If children are doing that and having these knee-jerk responses, and children have a hard time, children and teenagers and even young adults until the age of 25 have a hard time regulating their emotions because that part of your cortex just simply isn't fully developed yet, right? Like the emotional response part of the brain. The rational, like, decision-making part, which is why young people tend to make silly, rash decisions because their brains literally aren't fully formed. So yes, sometimes age is an explanation for how people act. Sometimes it is. Don't give me that, oh, well, when I was that age, I knew not to do that. Okay, good for you. You were brought up differently. That's it. So the people who are, you can see I'm, like, low-key mad about this subject because I just think it's stupid because it's like, how many fucking times does this need to have to happen? Charli was crying about it and received death threats.
Huge trigger warning. These are really, really messed up messages, but I'm just going to tell you guys this because you have to realize the reason that I don't want to speak out is because I know I'm going to get stuff like people telling me to hurt myself or people telling me like, you cannot like me but not attack the way I look or the fact that you don't want me here. Like, that's where I kind of draw the line. And honestly, like, seeing how people reacted to this, like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Like, this is messed up stuff that people are saying. Like, people telling me to hang myself, people just, like, blatantly disrespecting the fact that I'm still a human being is not okay at all.
Imagine thinking that someone was so rude over a dinner that you then proceed to send death threats to them. It's ludicrous. It's so stupid. But yes, my point that if children are having these knee-jerk responses, they're learning that behavior from somewhere. Who are they learning it from? Well, each other, social media, and also adults. The court of public opinion was so quick to cancel literally the life of Caroline Flack, with a different subject matter, a bit more grave, before an actual court case could go through and find out if she did or didn't do the offence. And then she took her life because the court of public opinion cancelled her, and the media hounded her, and it was all detrimental, it was all interlinked. So children are learning this behaviour somewhere. Adults on social media who think, let's cancel people. People are TV shows and we can just cancel them. They're not living, breathing. There are very few things in this life that are redeemable. Aren't redeemable. I don't think paedophilia is redeemable. Most other things are redeemable. And people can bet themselves. Just throwing that out there. Throwing that one out there. No reason. God, this is all over the place. And seeing the justifications of it of, oh, well, she was only seeing her subscribers as numbers. We don't know that. We're not mind readers. We don't know that. And also, okay, a 16-year-old is still getting death threats for the tiniest of slip-ups, acting a little bit bratty. It wasn't as if she went and, did something really, really offensive. She acted a little bit bratty. And as soon as she did, people were ready to just get the pitchforks out. It's bizarre behaviour. Like, stop bullying children on the internet. What a wild thing to say. How controversial of me. So also the chef in the video is supposedly a family friend. So if they were acting a little bit bratty, maybe they just feel that they can within that relationship. But sometimes that doesn't translate well over, like how tone can't really translate that well over text sometimes. For example, one of my best mates, we used to live together. We have a quite sibling-ish dynamic going on. Sometimes we talk to each other in a way that other people will be like, oh, steady on you two. Like, what are you arguing about? What are you bickering about? But it's not toxic in any way. It's just the way we interact, because we have that dynamic and we don't take things seriously. We don't, like, if we ever do have an argument, we just clear it up after a few hours. So if they have that kind of dynamic with their chef friend, it didn't translate well onto camera. So, I mean, that's constructive criticism, isn't it? But then if he cooks for them and he was fine with it, other people shouldn't be getting angry on his behalf. There was this I think it's Hollywood Fix.
Hey, Tommy, what's up, bro? How's it going, man?
What's up, bro?
What is up, man? Are you the chef from the infamous D'Amelio cooking episode?
That's me.
It was Aaron, right?
Yep.
Man, oh my God, this is so crazy. Listen, this is actually one of the hottest topics right now. What is going on with all this snail drama?
There was somebody on production thought it would be funny to feed Dixie and Charli snails.
Okay.
They didn't take it the best. I love Dixie and Charli. I've worked with them before. I'm going to work with them again.
Okay.
I think it's a little blown out of proportion.
They did a little street interview with him, which I think personally was staged. I think a lot of the Hollywood Fix, the LA lot, kind of are. I imagine that Tana Mojo is the type of person to call the paparazzi on herself. So I think that it was, damage control. As what are the chances the Hollywood Fix blokes just, randomly comes across the chef from the video that blew up and got everyone really mad for not really a big deal. Yeah, Dixie was acting like a little bit over dramatic. Okay. She's still a teenage girl. It's almost like we don't let teenagers be teenagers anymore with the social media age, and we expect them to act perfectly and not have overreactions and not be dramatic, when it's in young people's nature to do so because of what I said earlier about the brain, right? It must be quite difficult to grow up in the internet age now and have perfection expected from you. It's ridiculous. When you're young and a teenager, that's the time to make mistakes and establish boundaries between yourself and other people and know what is acceptable behavior and what isn't. And I'm not talking about like super abusive behavior. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about being a bit stupid and saying like silly things and this situation. It's better to work this stuff out when you're a teenager and make your mistakes. Because if you do it in your late 20s, early 30s onwards, it's a lot more serious then to be making those kind of, mistakes. I don't want to talk about her too much because she scares me. But Trisha Paytas, for whatever reason, got involved. She does this thing sometimes where she pretends to be reasonable on TikTok. But I'm probably not going to be able to find the TikTok. But I'm very sure that she did say that because their platforms are so big, they should be responsible role models. Charli should be a responsible role model because she's got 100 million followers. And it's like, okay, Trish, sorry, but you still have about 5 million followers on this platform. You have about 3 million followers on TikTok. So what's your fucking excuse? Not to get too mad, but what is your excuse? 5 million people is still a lot of people. What's your excuse for not acting like a responsible, reasonable adult? Because, like, not shading that much really, but you don't act like... I think you'll agree you're always in trouble with something or another, or you've offended this community or that community or whatever. So what's your excuse? Why are we putting so much stress and onus on a teenager? Did Charli ask to have 100 million followers? No, and she's enjoying it because who wouldn't? She's going to be set up for life from it. But why are we expecting so much from children and teenagers? It's already stressful being a teenager. Do you not remember puberty? Do you not remember that time of your life? And then imagine you've got 100 million people following you during that time of life. Shit must be really stressful. Leave her alone. Honestly, I was still an idiot in my early 20s. Massive idiot. It was only in my mid-20s I started to grow the fuck up and become a bit more responsible and reasonable and rational. Before then, I was a drug-addled wreck. Just stop putting people on these weird pedestals of perfection where if they mess up even a little bit, that's it, they're off. It's weird. Stop idolizing people to that extent. I know there might be some parents or boomers out there who are going to think, well, my child follows these too, and if they see them mucking around the dinner table, what if my children muck around the dinner table? And you're not going to enjoy hearing this, but if an influencer influences your teenager so much that your child then thinks, oh, well, I'm going to back a brat at the dinner table, parent your kids better. You're not going to like hearing that, but it's not on Dixie and Charli. This is some sort of like, I'm pretending that I'm getting this criticism, like this argument right now. But if I do get this argument, it's not on Dixie and Charli to parent your children. If your children are that easily led astray by influencers, you need to have a solid chat with them about social media, but without being a boomer about it. That's a lot to ask, I know. But these are the things you've got to take on when you bring literal life into the world. And then, because James is friends with the D'Amelios, and he was in the video, and he came across rather reasonable, he's decided to get involved and say his piece and defend, these teenagers, because they're his friends. And then Trisha Paytas clapped back for some reason and started spewing a bit of a conspiracy that Dixie is only acting this way because James is her friend. She has no agency of her own. She's just James Charles 2.0. So that was weird. And then James came back at that. And then because he did that and said, Trisha, you and your friends, you and your best mates, Jeffree Star got involved for some reason and started shouting. I love it when he goes off, but clearly he just wasn't getting enough attention, that day. So he decided to get involved and shout and...
Everyone. I guess yesterday there was a bunch of drama with other people not involving me, but people still want to mention my name. First of all, I have no idea what happened. I don't give a fuck what happened. I'm too busy worrying about me, myself, my family, and I don't care. I don't entertain it. So if you were friends with me and you're not anymore, keep my fucking name out of your mouth, bitch! I don't understand anything that's going on anymore. I'm sure James wasn't even talking about, because Trisha and Jeffree, are they friends? Isn't Trisha scared of him? Maybe James was just meaning Shane Dawson when... No? Okay. What a garbage fire. It's a complete garbage fire, and at the middle of it is a 16-year-old who is crying because they got death threats. Can we all have a bit of perspective and stop doing this to people? Maybe if you get so annoyed that someone's been a bit of an idiot on the internet and then you send a death threat, maybe you're not the right one in this situation. That's a wild thought. I just think we need to stop holding people to impossible standards.
And no, it's not rich of me to say this when, yes, I do criticise Jeffree Star, Tana Mojo. Tana Mojo I criticise because, honestly, I just want her to do better for herself. I don't want her being a mess at 30. And Jeffree Star is a whole-ass adult who can handle criticism and also injects himself into drama and starts shouting on, and it was either his Snapchat or his Insta stories, he just shouting and his voice was pretty deep and it's like, alright, chill out, mate. But even then, when I criticise any of these influencers, you know, these adult influencers, I never send death threats because that's not very reasonable. We need to stop holding people to impossibly high standards where they can't help but fall down. People aren't perfect. Teenagers most certainly are not perfect. Let them make mistakes. Let them be a little bit stupid. I think people even try to compare PewDiePie and Charli, which is unreasonable. PewDiePie, yeah, he took 9 years to get to 100 million followers and he's very humble. He's also 30 and he started YouTube when he was 21 or 20. If he's been doing it for 9 years, yes, that's how math works. Charli's 16. The two situations aren't comparable. And as I said at the beginning of this video, if a teenager in LA gets a bit bratty, is it any skin off my back or your back? As long as it's not unbearable, who cares? Maybe in a few years' time, if they do grow up to be entitled, it will just be funny and more video fodder for other people. No, but seriously, this mass, it feels like bullying. It does feel like bullying when it teeters into the territory of everyone shouting the same thing, projecting onto a person what their real intentions were. Meanwhile, said person is a child. And if it is children leading the cancel culture brigade in Charli's case, or maybe even in other people's cases, if it is young children, they are learning this behaviour from somewhere, and we, the real adults, need to step up, be fair, be nuanced, be balanced, so that the younger generation, I sound like the biggest fucking boomer in the world right now, has a good example to look up to. We as adults need to stop the knee-jerk reactions every time someone says or does something that we don't agree with. That's all. That's it. That's the video. That's all I got to say on the matter. So if you enjoyed this video, do remember to like and subscribe. I make new videos whenever I feel like it. Follow me on Instagram and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.